sponge, a beautiful creature of the deep that has legs and pants. I bet you thought I was going to talk about some ocean documentary. No, SpongeBob. SpongeBob SquarePants is a fun-loving sea creature who lives in a pineapple under the sea. Those sea creatures, though, am I right? No? Okay. In one episode, Sandy Cheeks, a squirrel, becomes homesick for Texas and begins to sing a sorrowful song about home. Now, her depression overwhelms our little protagonist, and he begins to sob. Like, tears fall from his eyes uncontrollably. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell because he's underwater, but the struggle is real. Throughout the episode, SpongeBob is drastically affected by Sandy's mood. And at that point, I realized, we are all SpongeBob. I mean, not literally, but emotionally. Dr. John Cacioppo, the director for the Center of Cognitive and Social Neuroscience, states, the more we relate with the person, the more likely we are to catch the emotion. What SpongeBob is experiencing is what Cacioppo calls emotional contagion. Essentially, we can absorb others' emotions without even realizing it. But when we hang around people with a negative emotion, we may begin to feel less and less motivated to perform necessary everyday tasks, such as schoolwork, chores, or even performing. So let us first absorb the causes of emotional contagion, before squeezing out the detrimental effect, and finally exploring solutions to break away and stand tall. For a simpler invertebrate, SpongeBob sure goes through a lot of emotions. Similarly, we fluctuate our mood based on others around us for two reasons. First of all, it's just how we're programmed. I mean, when you're at a movie and someone on the screen cries in their emotional climax, your eyes may suddenly turn to the rapids. But don't be embarrassed. There's a reason. See, mirror neurons in our brains suddenly kick into gear whenever we witness any physical or emotional action from another person. Dr. Danielle Sonkin, a family therapist, points out, they could be having a reaction to a particular stimuli, just found out bad or good news, or it could be their mirror neuron systems picking up on the emotional intentions of others around them. What Danielle is saying is that we tend to pick up on the emotional intentions of others around us. The brain is weird, making us feel things that have nothing to do with us. But all of this emotional absorbing can go downhill in a matter of minutes. We can see this in how absorbing the wrong emotion can affect us long term, and how catching others may simply leave us feeling overwhelmed. People who are depressed or have frustration tend to be the kind of people that we absorb those negative emotions from. And while anger can be chased away with a few laughs, depression can affect us our whole lives. Some of the world's best-known criminals and antagonists have suffered from some form of chronic depression or frustration. And as Dr. Jack Levin, a professor of sociology and criminology, states, most mass murderers have suffered from some form of chronic depression. And over a period of time, they externalize responsibility, blaming everybody but themselves for their failings. They are inherently affecting others around them. And while SpongeBob never thought of that, he did teach us that all of our bad mood and negativity is affecting the ones that we love most. When depressed, we may tend to feel unproductive, and this can hurt the ones closest to us. For some individuals, this can have a drastic result. In the most intense cases, they resorted to drugs, alcohol, or even suicide. The New York Times states that suicide rates have increased 60% over the past 50 years, and that by 2020, depression will be the most prevalent medical condition in the world. That means in less than a decade, most of the world will suffer from depression. Sometimes when this negative mood virus infects the masses, sometimes the results can be devastating. And too often this contagion goes unnoticed until it's too late. As social creatures, we don't want those around us to suffer. For example, SpongeBob threw a Texas-themed party for Sandy to make her feel better. And we should do the same. However, when we fall short, we are then left with that person's depression. Recently, I was in a relationship, but it did not change me for the greater good. My friends and even my mom's friends kept saying that I had changed. From my point of view, I had no idea what they were talking about, because I hadn't changed at all, I thought. But for some, the change can be drastic. And Psychology Today states that in emotionally abusive relationships, one party systematically overthrows the other by undermining his or her self-worth, confidence, growth, trust, or even emotional stability. At this point, I decided to have a deep conversation with my mom, and she heartbreakingly told me that all of these people that loved me and cared for me didn't think I was okay. I then realized I was absorbing too many negative emotions, and sometimes when we realize that, we need to wring out that habit. So now let's come up for air and realize how to become a more happier society. The first thing to do would be to simply smile. People who are stressed or anxious were asked to smile for a short period of time and proven that they felt better. Might want to work on that when you get home. But by simply smiling for 2 minutes every day, we have already made ourselves happy and others around us. The second way would be in emotionally taxing relationships. Get that person the help they need or cut the relationship off. Music is a great outlet, and it can actually be more effective than verbal stimuli, which can be distracting. Music can also speed along the process of healing our internal wounds, which we have already helped others around us by doing so. Now that we have been through the causes, effects, and solutions of all this emotional absorbing, why be a sponge? Be rubber and let those negative emotions bounce off you and send them a smile in return. And maybe we can learn one more thing from our yellow friend, as he once quipped, what's better than serving up smiles?